Hey, okay, welcome back to the Caribou Data Science channel on YouTube. This is week 8 of 10 of our exploration of the Furniture Mart sales data set. So far, all projects have been done with SQL Server, okay, and T-SQL, all right? And of course, all the code is coming directly from ChatGPT. That's right. So anyway, let's go over here then. Here, let's open up ChatGPT here. And let's just come over here. So anyway, where are we at so far? Well, you only have a single table, all right? And we have no views, all right? So let's just come down here. Let's just take a very quick look at our data. Okay. Point to keep in mind. You always got to keep in mind what database system you're using. Okay. All right. City, state, market segment, corporate, consumer, furniture. We only have one type, an X furniture type. Tables and so forth. What else over here? Quantity, discount. So each row represents one cell. Okay, so this total cell here is $502 and change. A total quantity of 3. As the invitation series corner table, discount 2%, profit. I'm not sure why. How the heck do we lose? How the heck do we lose $87 on this account? I don't understand that. Let's take a look at a couple other basic functions here. Let's take a look at the let's see, let's look at total sale and total profit. All right. Okay, so again the date range is 2014-2017. What is this? 2,121 rows. Total sales 741,000. Say 742,000. Good news is we made a total of $18,000 in profit. Okay, so there's sort of our quick look here. So let's come over here. And let's upload our data again. We could also just upload a description of this. Let's do that just for the fun of it. You go over here, okay, and say script create new query window. We'll just go get the description of the table real quick. So there was a there was a video on YouTube, something to the effect, should you be polite to ChatGPT? Should you say please and thank you at ChatGPT? Now, the most important thing I want you to see here is that I told it what database system I'm using, because as you can see, there are some differences between between a generic database and say Postgres or DuckDB or SQL Server. There are minor differences. You saw one right there. How do you display a limited number of rows? Some databases at the end of your SQL statement, you have a limit function. The older versions of SQL Server use, as I did, use the top function. There is actually a third way, but I don't remember what it is. Okay, so I'm also going to tell it only okay, the only category is just to give it a little bit of, so we'll be trying to run stuff against the current. Okay, here we go. Identify seasonal trends by analyzing sales data from previous years and group them by month. To help you identify seasonal trends by analyzing sales data from the previous years and grouping by month, we can write a query that extracts the total sales for each month over the 2000 to 2014 period. Okay, nothing tricky here. You only have one category, so we don't really need that, but we'll leave it there just in case you add something later on. Okay. We could, of course, group by category, right? But that's all right. So we go pull out the year, the month. Notice that most databases don't have a year and a month function. You have to use something like a date part or a date extract or something like that, or a cast possibly. So let's just run this, see what we got here. We're ordering by year, we're grouped by year and month, and we order by year and month. So here's the number for 2014, 2015, okay? Do we have Azure Data Studio? Now, we're going to pause here because Azure Data Studio is a way to do data visualization within SQL Server. So we can plot the monthly numbers, okay? Because ultimately that's where we're going. Ultimately, we are in fact going to, to try to plot some of do some visualizations for the requirements. Okay. So it's going to take a minute or two to download this and then to install it, but you'll see exactly where we're going here in just one moment. Okay, let's go over here. Let's minimize this. You can actually download Azure Studio separately. Okay, and install. It's also available on Linux, I believe. Yes, I agree to sell my soul to Microsoft and Azure Data Studio. Yes, that's quite all right. Notice that it's actually installing it under my user account. Okay. Now the plotting functions as part of this is pretty basic. It covers all the main topics. Let's see some here. Let's try this now. So let's go over here. Let's create a connection. Let's run a query. First thing we do, we have to create a connection. New connection, server, connection string. Let's try this again. New connection, SQL Server connection, server, Windows Authentication database. Yeah, I trust myself. Furniture Mart, encryption, optional. Connect. Good. New query. So let's come back over here now. So here's our numbers here. Let me go over here and do a query. Okay, yeah, there is sand down, so I'm not really sure how to use it. Okay, that's the problem. Let's do line. Data is vertical. Okay. So here's our first data visualization for tonight. X-axis is, no, okay. Now we're not seeing both the month and the year, but that's, for our purposes, that may be okay. Because it still gives us the numbers. You can see there seems to be a pattern here, doesn't there? Let's see. But is there an overall pattern in terms of in terms of okay, to notebook. Okay, good. So here we are. Just for the fun of it, let's come up here. And come over here and put our plot back in. Configure chart. Let's see, bar, let's do line. Data vertical. So there's that. Okay. Let's come back over here now to our second thing. Let's do a save up here, of course. Save. Owner. All right. Let's come back over to our second query then. Use SQL queries to generate a rolling 12-month sales forecast based on SQL Server. Rolling, well, the way you would do a rolling is you would have to use a window function, right? Although I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you can actually do a forecast. We'll find out. With a window function to calculate the sum of last 12 months sales for each month. Here's a query that will calculate the 12-month rolling sum. Now this may not in fact calculate, do a forecast. Okay. A rolling would mean cumulative, right? So we start out with a calculating what total sales by month and year. Now this is interesting. Well, that's odd. How come this should it be ordered by month and year? By year and month, I mean. Let's just see what happens here. Okay, so let's come over here now. Let's bring this back over to our notebook, right? Let's add a cell. So here's our sales number. But of course the trouble is we're not really forecasting, are we? We're simply just calculating the rolling months, okay? Okay. Well, that's sort of interesting, but not necessarily helpful. Let's do a line. Well, what can we see? Again, we're not actually forecasting, are we? That's probably the main thing. Okay, you can see we did see a nice big increase between January 2014 and this, right between during we saw a nice increase uh, for 2014. Then it pretty much leveled off. It did increase a little bit beginning in on on March 2016. Not the big growth, but it kind of leveled off. So we could forecast that, that, well, this is probably going to continue this pattern on out. Okay, all right, all right. So that's the action. That's the second requirement. Okay, predict which product categories are likely to see increase in sales. Okay. So what you can see is, hang on, go give me something to drink. I'll be right back. Now, of course, it would be interesting to take this data, these questions, and just have, ChatGPT perform the analysis using, say, Python to back. That's an interesting concept, but enough. Okay, requirement number that's a subject for another matter. Okay. Monthly growth rates. Okay, good. Who knows? We may actually come back and redo this whole project using ChatGPT and Python. You just never know, do we? Again, we start out with a CTE, pass the output from there. Excuse me. I'm not quite sure how this is actually going to work out. Because we are dealing with subcategories here. Okay, let's just drop this into now this is a little trickier because um, because we don't really, it's kind of hard to figure out what's still on there. So we may have to, we'll leave this here, although it's not really what we're looking for. It's one of those things where it doesn't really fit well into a simple plot. But what about the idea of come back and doing all these requirements using, say, ChatGPT or even maybe R, right? Now, using ChatGPT to write some Python code for us. What do you think about that? Do I have, let's see. I don't have, at this point, I don't have I don't have any create a forecast report that breaks down future sales expectations by region and market. Now again, we can't actually do this, can we? Because we can't forecast. We can look at historical sales. Okay. But like this one here, how should this be plotted? That's the question. Let's try something a little bit crazier, shall we? Let's check here first of all. Yeah, there's nothing here. Don't quite know how that works in that case. See, that's there, but it's not actually doing anything. Let's go over here. Let's see if we can do something with this. Ideally what we want a separate plot. What we can do is, let's come back, and let's format the year and the month, okay? So let's go over here, Dan. Let's get rid of that. Let's add okay, this is a little more interesting. You can see down here the sub. We're not getting the total by subcategory. Okay, total sales, and we can't see previous month's growth. We can't see subcategory. We can't. But it does appear that the previous month growth is about the same, okay? Let's see some here, but let's come back over here now. Here, what we're looking for is a plot. We have a separate line. Yeah, you see, this doesn't really work right, does it? Huh, interesting. Select all. Not particularly helpful, but you know, we'll just run with this the way it is. Alright. Okay. Create a forecast report that breaks down future sales expectations by region and market segment. So do we want to install Miniconda? So we got that one. Modeling, we can provide a foundation by grouping historical data and using moving averages. All right. Yeah, so this is also difficult to plot also, okay? Interesting. Why did it not return anything? Let's try this. Let's come back over here. Let's actually upload the data. Hey, how you doing, friend? I'm doing some SQL. Actually, I should say ChatGPT is doing some SQL. I'm providing ChatGPT with some data and some requirements, and it's trying to write some SQL for the requirements. Of course, ChatGPT created the requirements to begin with. I gave it some data, said create some requirements for this. I created 10 projects, 10 requirements. I'm now on project number 8, okay? So the question is, what are you up to this evening? Interesting, okay. Let's come. So are you a data analyst type of person, a programmer? What's your current status? Now, of course, the trouble with SQL is you can't really do, at least not with SQL Server. I'm using SQL Server, by the way. You can't actually do forecasting with let's say SQL Server. You could sort of look at previous. You can maybe look at a moving average for like versus actual or something like that, and realize that. Generates the line shot with forecast. Okay, that's what we're looking for. I am using the paid version of ChatGPT, of course. That's the 4 Omni or 4.0. No. Oh, from India. Very good. Well, I'm sure. Do you use any programming in your civil engineering? Do you like any Python programming or maybe Fortran by chance? I'm not quite sure why it can't. Let me see something here. I actually got a GitHub repository. Oh, basic Python, very good. Have you done anything like forecasting of any type with it? I will mention, I also have a second channel which is a cyclistic bike share project channel. That's where we do a lot of analyzing and with various tools. I analyze the ever popular cyclistic bike share data out of Chicago. Okay. Let me just see something. Here's the furniture store. Here is the GitHub repo for tonight's project. It includes all the code, the data, requirements, and all kinds of good stuff like that. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Let's try this again. You mean in your study of Python? I don't think that belongs there. Let's see. Well, I mean, there's lots of good YouTube channels out there. But I do all my Python programming using ChatGPT. Okay. It's just as simple as that. You know, pay the $20 a month, get the full version of ChatGPT and the data analyst functions and stuff like that, and that's what I do. You know, I'm even using it. The only thing I really do by myself is probably R programming, but I know some SQL, but nothing this fancy here. Let's try this again. In terms of Python, my setup, I use the mini conda distribution as part of Anaconda. You know, mini conda doesn't install every package available. It only gives you the packages you actually need. Okay, so I use mini conda and I use VS Code, and sometimes I use Jupyter notebooks. But you know, if I actually right now I don't have Python installed on this computer right here. I am going to install it a little bit later on. Maybe after I finish the last requirement here for this evening. But yeah, I do all my Python programming on with ChatGPT. You know, it's just that simple. I'm back over here. You know, it really is a problem because I mean, you know, the old adage is what, time is money. Well, if you can do things faster with AI, it means it's going to cost you less to produce the results, which means less time means more money. Okay, and that, to me, that's the real dilemma for businesses. If businesses are all about giving the stakeholders what they want as fast as you can, then you'd be crazy not to use, you know, AI of some type to help generate your code and stuff like that. ChatGPT can create some Excel spreadsheets for existence, but what it's really good at, particularly with the data analyst function, is what it's really good at is writing Python program and SQL. Okay, it's okay with R, but it's not perfect. It's not quite as accurate. Pretty accurate, but But at its best, ChatGPT and Python is a pretty doggone good combination. Honestly, I mean, it's just. Let's come back up here. Here's the last one. Now, is it actually going to take programmer spots? That's an interesting question. I mean, as you can see, it's also a very good tool for doing data analytics with SQL. Okay. I wonder how come this isn't returning anything. Yeah. Huh. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? That's okay. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for me and the like button, okay? If you hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I go live. I live stream 2 or 3 times a week, so be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified. Hey, thanks so much for stopping by, okay, friend? Thanks so much, friend. Appreciate your time. Okay, of course, again, we only have one category. Okay, and there is our session for this evening. Let's come over here. Let's just pull this out for tonight. And with that, my dear, well, I tell you what, that's part 1. Let's come over here And this is just as a bonus for you folks tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and install Miniconda. All right. Only because I like you. That's why I'm going to do this. Just for me. Yeah, let's just do it just for me. Two. Because we could, of course, as I said earlier, you could, of course, uh, you know, we may go back, use the same data, uh, same requirements, and have it rewrite it, and have it write the Python code for each requirement. We could do that, of course, right? Okay, get started now. How can it go? There we go. Let's pin to start over here. Owner. So all of our projects could be Python projects, maybe even our project. We'll see. Locate our user owner Miniconda environment. That is the default thing there. So the first thing we're going to do is go over here and go run conda update all. And what the heck? We may even, oh, look at this, set up, okay, good. You may recall, if you followed me for the last few months, I was actually for probably about 6 months or so, I was actually running all my Windows applications on a virtual machine. Well, I inadvertently deleted all my virtual machines about a month ago, so now I'm kind of starting over where I left off. Let's see. Install. So it installed Jupyter Lab, which is good. IPython Jedi, Jupyter Server. We'll do a list, and we'll actually look and see what everything's installed. We probably need to install a few other things like pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Seaborn. We'll see. So you can see, is Pandas installed? So you can see that like Pandas and stuff isn't installed. Okay, Jupyter is all installed. So what you don't have is a lot of basic stuff like Pandas. Okay, so let's come here. Let's do this. Anything else? So this should pretty much set us up for our Python environments, okay? And we'll finish up this theme by actually creating a new environment for our new Python environment for our furniture mark beta, okay? So now let's create our new create. Python. Oh, goodness gracious, this very I didn't install nearly enough stuff in here, did I? Pandas, NumPy. Of course, this means I also have to install VS Code, right? So my system is gradually getting a little less clean than it was when I first started with it. Let's just move the data over there. So now our data is there. And with that, my dear friends, I'm going to wrap this up this evening. I will be uploading all the code from this evening's session to the repository. Be sure to, there's a link to the repository in the description below of the video, so be sure to